You wake up at 2 a.m., heart beating for no reason, mind running through things you said 3 years ago. You stare at the ceiling for an hour, maybe two, then finally fall back asleep feeling like something is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. What's wrong is that you've been told your entire life that sleep is one thing, 8 hours, straight through, uninterrupted. Wake up once, and you've failed. But that version of sleep is an invention, a modern one, and for roughly 300,000 years of human existence, nobody slept that way, not a single person. So what did sleep actually look like before we decided it had rules? Let's start with the historian who accidentally blew the whole thing open. In the 1990s, historian Roger Ekirch spent 16 years combing through diaries, court records, medical texts, and literature from medieval Europe. He wasn't looking for anything about sleep specifically. He was researching nighttime behavior, and buried inside thousands of documents, he kept finding the same phrase repeated: first sleep, second sleep. A 15th century French physician wrote about the best time to conceive a child being after first sleep. A 16th century English document described a servant waking between sleeps to tend the fire. A prayer manual from 1490 actually recommended specific prayers for the hour between first and second sleep, not before bed, between sleeps. Ekirch published his findings in 2001. He had found over 500 references across 16 centuries, all pointing to the same thing. For most of human history, people slept in two separate phases with a deliberate waking period in between. And nobody thought this was strange because it was simply how humans slept. So what happened during that middle hour? Almost everything. Medical texts from the period recommended it as the ideal time for sex, not because people were romantic, because the body was warm, the mind was calm, and conception rates were believed to be higher. Craftsmen used the time to do delicate work requiring focus. Farmers planned the following day. Writers wrote. Priests prayed. Some people simply lay in the dark and thought. Not anxiously, not productively, just thought. There were no notifications pulling them back into the world, no screens casting blue light into their eyes, no emails that had arrived while they slept. The darkness was total and the quiet was real, and the mind did what minds do when nothing is competing for their attention. It wandered, it processed, it settled. But here's what makes this genuinely strange. Nobody needed an alarm to wake up for this middle period. The body did it automatically. Because this wasn't insomnia. This was a biological rhythm, the same one you still carry inside you right now, whether you know it or not. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Wehr ran an experiment. He took a group of volunteers and removed artificial light entirely. No lamps, no screens, no streetlights bleeding through curtains, just natural darkness for 14 hours a night. Within 3 weeks, every single participant had shifted to segmented sleep, 4 hours down, an hour or two awake. 4 more hours of sleep, without being told to, without trying. Their bodies just did it. Wehr described the waking period as a state unlike normal wakefulness. Participants reported feeling deeply calm, unusually clear-headed, not anxious, not restless, just present. Their bodies were producing elevated levels of prolactin, the same hormone released during deep meditation. They weren't lying awake worrying. They were existing in a quiet biological state that modern life has made almost impossible to access. And then electric light arrived and erased it completely. Thomas Edison introduced the commercial light bulb in 1879. Within 2 generations, the waking hour between sleeps had essentially vanished from Western life. Nights got shorter, productivity became the standard, sleeping through the night became the medical ideal, and suddenly millions of people were lying awake at 3 a.m., convinced they had a disorder. They didn't have a disorder. They had an ancestral rhythm being suppressed by a light bulb. But segmented sleep was only part of what made ancient rest different. The other part was where it happened and with whom. The idea of a private bedroom is extraordinarily new. For most of human history, sleep was a communal act. Among the Hadza in Tanzania, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer populations, researchers found that group members almost never all sleep at the same time. there's always someone awake, always someone half alert. Not because they take shifts deliberately, but because the group's sleep schedules naturally stagger across the night. Researchers at the University of Toronto studied this in 2017. They found that across a 220-hour observation period, the Hadza were all simultaneously asleep for only 18 minutes total. One person was always awake or in a light sleep state. The group functioned like a single organism with a rotating watch, not through planning, through biology. Think about what that means. You were never truly alone at night. The vulnerability of deep sleep was distributed across the group. One person's shallow sleep covered another's deep rest. It was a survival system built directly into human social biology. Sleep wasn't a private act you retreated into. It was something the group did together, imperfectly, in shifts, because that's what kept everyone alive, and the environment itself shaped everything else. Ancient sleep wasn't silent. It was full of fire crackling, insects, wind, animals moving in the dark, other people breathing and shifting nearby. There were no mattresses, no climate control. People slept on hides, on grass, on packed earth close to heat. Sleep positions changed constantly through the night. You didn't commit to one side of a bed because there was no bed. You moved with the temperature, with discomfort, with the sounds and the light of a fire slowly dying down around you. Modern sleep medicine treats all of this as a problem to engineer away. A dark room, a white noise machine to cancel real sound, a mattress built to eliminate every pressure point, a thermostat set to exactly 67 degrees. We have spent enormous resources constructing a sleeping environment so controlled and artificial it barely resembles anything the human body spent hundreds of thousands of years adapting to, and the result is a world where roughly 1/3 of adults report sleeping poorly most nights. Here's the part that should make you stop. The sleeping pill industry generates over $80 billion per year globally. Melatonin is one of the most purchased supplements on Earth. Sleep tracking devices have become a multi-billion-dollar market. We are spending extraordinary sums of money trying to fix something that may not be broken at all. Something that may simply be different from the standard we invented. Waking up at 3 a.m. might be your biology surfacing. The fragmented, light, easily interrupted sleep you experience might be closer to your natural state than the solid 8-hour block you've been chasing your entire adult life. The anxiety you feel when you can't sleep might be the thing actually keeping you awake, not the waking itself. The story you've been told about what the waking means. Roger Ekirch has argued for years that the modern epidemic of sleep disorders is at least partly a consequence of measuring human sleep against a standard that only emerged in the last 150 years. We invented the problem by inventing the ideal. We told people how humans sleep, then we charged them to fix it when their bodies disagreed. For 300,000 years, humans woke in the night, and it meant nothing. They lay in total darkness, calm and clear-headed, thinking quietly before sliding back into sleep. They slept pressed against other bodies. They slept with fire and noise and the living world around them. They slept in two pieces because their biology was built in two pieces. Nobody called it a disorder. Nobody sold them a solution. Nobody told them they were failing at something as fundamental as closing their eyes. You wake up at 2 a.m., heart beating, mind running quietly in the dark. That's not a malfunction. That might just be what it feels like to be exactly what you are.